Welcome to the deep dive. So today we have a really, just a fascinating mission for you.
Yeah, we really do.
We're looking at a highly targeted, like hyper-specific real estate report and marketing pitch that was published exactly today, March 23, 2026.
Right. Fresh off the press.
Exactly. The author is a realtor named Cara Conde, and the title alone is just a masterclass in grabbing your attention.
Oh, absolutely.
It's called Get This, Sorry Barrington, Your Sky-High Tax Bill Just Got Ghosted by Fishers.
That is an incredibly bold opening move for a real estate document, right?
It really is. It sets the tone immediately. And the goal of our deep dive today is to really explore this concept of suburban arbitrage.
Which is such an interesting phrase.
Right. We're going to examine how this one specific marketer is basically systematically convincing affluent families to just completely uproot their lives, cross state lines, and step into a much better financial reality.
All while promising they won't have to sacrifice, a single ounce of their premium lifestyle.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this, because usually when we look at marketing material like this, it really reminds me of a stage magic trick.
Oh, I like that comparison. How so?
Well, the illusionist waves a brightly colored silk scarf with one hand, and you look right at it. But the real work, the actual mechanics of the trick, is happening quietly in the other hand.
That is a perfect way to frame what we're about to analyze. It's totally a redirection of your attention.
Right.
Except here, the magic trick is happening with people's actual lives,
Yep.
and their life savings.
Yeah, the stakes are a bit higher than a card trick.
Exactly. We're looking at a geographical landscape that is being completely redrawn before our eyes,
Right.
basically through sheer marketing brilliance.
So true.
So to understand how this works, we need a clear framework. We're going to look at the psychological push factors, like why families are feeling driven out of these high-cost areas in the first place.
Okay, the push.
Right. Then we'll analyze the pull factors of the new destination, examining how the marketer neutralizes that deep-seated fear of moving.
Which is huge.
Yeah. And after that, we have to look at the hard financial math, because the numbers are staggering. And finally, we'll break down the sophisticated strategy of the architect behind it all.
Okay, well, let's start with that push. The target audience here is incredibly specific. This pitch is aimed squarely at families living in Barrington, Illinois.
Yes, very specific target.
And for you listening, if you aren't familiar with the Chicago area, the document describes Barrington as one of the city's most prestigious northwest suburbs.
Right. It's known for those sprawling, beautiful homes.
Yeah, top-tier schools, a highly elite reputation. But the report basically just hits the reader immediately with some cold, hard data.
The migration data, right?
Exactly. It uses 2025 and 2026 census and Redfin migration data, showing a really steady outflow of residents just leaving the area entirely.
And the culprits driving that outflow are laid out very clearly by the author. She points to an elevated cost of living, premium housing prices, and just sky-high property taxes. The marketer is tapping into a very specific, very acute pain point that these affluent homeowners feel every single month.
Which brings up a really interesting point about that term she uses, right? Suburban arbitrage.
Yeah, it's a great branding term.
Because usually when we hear arbitrage in a lifestyle context, we think of, the classic digital nomad.
Right, remote workers.
Yeah, we think of a tech worker moving from San Francisco to Bali, or maybe a couple retiring to Portugal to stretch their U.S. dollars.
The whole geo-arbitrage thing.
Exactly. It usually implies this dramatic, globe-trotting move to a completely different economy. But here, the arbitrage is happening just a state away. It's right here in the Midwest.
And what's fascinating here is the psychology of the exact terminology being used. Conde calls it the Barrington Exodus.
Oh, wow. Exodus.
Right. Think about the emotional weight of that phrase. It implies a mass movement, like a logical flight from something oppressive.
Yeah, it sounds biblical almost.
Exactly. But notice what she strategically avoids doing here.
Yeah.
At no point does she ever tell these affluent families to downsize.
Oh, that's true, because downsizing feels like a defeat, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It feels like you're admitting to your peers and, I guess, to yourself that you can no longer afford the lifestyle you're accustomed to. Nobody wants to feel like they're retreating.
Exactly. Instead, she frames this move as a strategic financial play. It's positioned as a savvy maneuver for smart people who are simply tired of overpaying for prestige.
Yeah, that is so smart.
By calling it suburban arbitrage, she flatters the buyer. She turns a retreat into a financial victory.
Right.
She's basically telling the reader, You aren't being priced out. You're simply too smart to keep paying these ridiculous taxes.
I really love that distinction. Like, you're not fleeing a tax bill, you're executing a highly sophisticated relocation.
Precisely.
But that naturally leads to the next logical question for the buyer, right? Which is the pull.
Right, the destination.
Yeah, if you are leaving one of Chicago's absolute best suburbs, where exactly are you taking your family? And the answer this document gives is Fishers, Indiana.
Which requires a very delicate balancing act from a marketing perspective. This is where the pitch really has to work overtime to convince the buyer.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back here a little bit.
Sure.
Because as a reader, are we just looking at the highlight reel of the town? The pitch frames Fishers not as a budget alternative, but as a lifestyle upgrade.
It does, yeah.
But is a town in Indiana really offering the exact same prestige as a historic, top-tier Chicago suburb? That just sounds like a marketer stretching the truth to make a sale.
Well, it does sound like a stretch on the surface, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But that is why she leans so heavily into the concept of parody.
Parody?
Yeah, parody is the absolute linchpin of this entire pitch. You can't invent a century of historical prestige, right? But you can highlight modern equivalents that matter to today's parents.
But parody in what, exactly? I mean, you can't just wave a magic wand and make the schools or the amenities identical overnight.
You can't wave a magic wand, no. But you can build a 400-acre sports mega complex.
Oh, wow.
Right. The document explicitly says Hamilton Southeastern Schools offer an elite education that completely rivals Barrington's outcomes.
Okay.
And it paints a picture of a vibrant downtown, highly walkable neighborhoods, top-rated dining, and safety. But the crown jewel of this parody argument is really the sports angle.
You mean the Grand Park Sports Campus?
Yes. We really need to analyze why that specific amenity is so heavily featured here.
Right, because it's massive.
It is. We're talking about a facility with 26 sports fields. It's officially dubbed the sports capital of the Midwest, and it sits just, 20 to 30 minutes from downtown Indianapolis.
That's insane.
It is. And if we look at the psychology of the affluent parent, their absolute biggest fear when moving to a cheaper state is that their children are going to fall behind.
Right. They worry the academics will be weaker, or maybe the athletic programs won't be competitive enough to get their kids noticed by college recruiters. It's the anxiety of compromising your child's future just to save a few bucks on taxes?
Yes, the illusion of compromise. But by highlighting award-winning arts, championship athletics, exceptional college placement, and a literal 400-acre sports mega complex, the pitch neutralizes that biggest anxiety right out of the gate.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
For this specific demographic, youth sports are just a massive proxy for elite status.
Yeah.
The marketer is systematically removing every single objection a Barrington parent might have.
Yeah.
She's telling them, you aren't compromising your child's future. You're putting them in the sports capital of the Midwest.
It is just brilliant misdirection. It goes back to the magic trick, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at the 26 manicured sports fields while your tax bill just quietly vanishes on the other hand.
Exactly.
And speaking of which, here's where it gets really interesting. Because once that lifestyle parity is established in the buyer's mind, the conversation shifts to the actual financial mechanics making this arbitrage possible.
The math.
Yes, the math. And the side-by-side financial breakdown provided in the document is just jaw-dropping.
The contrast in the numbers is stark, and she makes absolutely sure the reader feels the weight of that difference.
Right. So in Barrington, the document notes that a comparable home goes for somewhere between $650,000 and $900,000, and honestly, often much more than that.
Sure.
And the annual property taxes on that home, they're between $12,000 and $18,000 plus every single year, just in taxes.
Which is painful. Now, compare that to the alternative being presented in Fishers.
Right. The alternative is pitched as this exclusive opportunity. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautifully updated home on a spacious lot in a highly desirable Fishers neighborhood.
And the price.
The price tag on this home is just $350,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And the annual property taxes are approximately $3,000.
I mean, the difference in carrying costs alone is just transformative for a household budget.
But it goes so much deeper than just the property tax, too. The document highlights the broader macroeconomic tax implications.
Right, the state income tax.
Exactly. The state income tax in Indiana is a flat 2.95%, effective in 2026. Compare that to Illinois, which sits at 4.95%.
That's a huge margin.
It is. Furthermore, the overall cost of living, which includes homeowners insurance, utilities, daily groceries, and just regular expenses, is 14 to 18% lower in Fishers than in Barrington.
And look at how the marketer packages all of that math. She doesn't just leave it as some sterile list of percentages.
No, she gives it a name.
Right. She coins a brilliant phrase in the text. She calls it the Fisher's Freedom Multiplier.
The freedom multiplier. I love that. It sounds like a sophisticated wealth management product you'd buy from a financial advisor.
That is entirely intentional. The document actually calculates the multiplier out for the buyer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It shows an immediate equity unlock of $100,000 to $300,000 or more just on the purchase price difference if they sell their Barrington home and buy in Fisher's in cash.
That's life-changing money.
It is. Plus, yearly savings of $9,000 to $15,000 or more on taxes and living costs.
Let's actually map that out for a second, because when you just say $9,000 to $15,000, it can sort of gloss over the reality of what that means for a family.
True.
Imagine you're the one sitting at your kitchen island in Barrington right now. You just opened a $15,000 property tax bill. Now you read this pitch promising a $3,000 tax bill.
Right.
That is basically $1,000 a month going straight back into your pocket.
Every single month.
Exactly. And if you take that $1,000 a month and put it into a standard index fund or maybe a 529 college savings plan, I mean, over the course of a 15-year mortgage with compound interest, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in newly generated wealth.
And the true genius of the document is that it doesn't just leave those numbers sitting on a spreadsheet.
What does it do?
It gives the money a tangible emotional purpose. It explicitly suggests using that unlocked wealth to fully fund those college 529 plans or take dream family vacations to Europe.
Oh, wow.
Or undertake massive home upgrades or accelerate retirement by several years.
It takes cold, hard math and turns it into a deeply emotional vision of freedom.
Exactly.
The pitch is essentially saying, you aren't just saving 14% on utilities. You are retiring 3 years earlier and ensuring your kids graduate completely debt-free.
It's a very compelling narrative.
It takes all the friction out of the decision. Suddenly, leaving Chicago doesn't feel like a sacrifice at all. It feels like the only responsible thing to do for your family's future.
Which brings us to a crucial pivot in our analysis. We understand the why they're leaving, we know the where they're going, and we've unpacked the how with the financial math.
Right.
Now we really need to look at who is orchestrating this entire apparatus.
Yes. The architect behind the curtain. The source reveals the author is Cara Conde. She's the co-founder of a firm called Circle 8 LLC, which is a venture she runs with her husband, Robert Lappin.
Yes.
And she brands herself very specifically. Like, she doesn't call herself a real estate agent. She calls herself Zionsville and Greater Indianapolis's leading off-market specialist.
And that phrase, off-market specialist, is carrying an immense amount of weight in this context. It's a very deliberate positioning strategy.
Why does that specific term matter so much, though? Is she just trying to sound exclusive?
Well, it goes way beyond just sounding exclusive. It actually solves a practical problem for the buyer.
How so?
She's claiming that this specific $350,000 Fisher's home isn't just sitting on Zillow or the local MLS for anyone to grab.
Oh, I see.
She states it's being curated through her proprietary network to avoid what she calls the public market frenzy.
Right, because the market is crazy.
Exactly. For an out-of-state buyer who might be terrified of navigating a bidding war in a city they don't even live in, she's offering a smooth, private, controlled transaction.
I was absolutely blown away by the sheer volume of her other content listed at the bottom of the source document.
It's extensive.
It really is. Like, if you think she's just targeting Barrington, you are mistaken. She has articles targeting Naperville, Illinois. She has a piece called From Hinsdale Prestige to Zionsville Jackpot.
She's everywhere.
She even has a 2026 cost comparison targeting Antioch, California, promising $1,500 to $3,000 in monthly savings if those California residents move to Indiana.
She is casting a very wide, very strategic net across multiple high-tax, high-cost-of-living areas.
And it's not just residential relocation advice either. Her content library is staggering in its complexity.
Oh, definitely.
She's writing about Cadillac's new Formula One headquarters being built in Fishers, Indiana, and how it's a game changer for regional property values.
Right.
She has deep dives into commercial real estate, writing about HUD 221 loans for single-room occupancy housing. She's analyzing the senior living boom and calling early education real estate the recession-resistant asset class, quietly taking over Indiana.
It's a lot to take in.
I mean, she is covering everything from the 2026 industrial warehouse market post-supply surge to mastering the internal rate of return to selling luxury homes in Carmel and Zionsville.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we can see exactly what kind of machine Cara Conde is running.
Yeah.
She is a macro-level content machine.
I have to admit, I got a little lost in some of that jargon. Like, HUD 221 what?
Right. It's very technical.
Yeah, why is someone who's trying to sell a single-family home to a family from Chicago writing articles about obscure government commercial loans and internal rates of return?
It's a brilliant psychological play to establish unshakable authority. A HUD 221 low loan, for you listening, is a highly complex, government-backed financing tool used by major developers for multifamily housing construction.
Okay, so not for your average home buyer.
Exactly. It is not something a typical residential house flipper knows or cares about. Similarly, the internal rate of return, or IRR, is a complex metric used by institutional investors to project the profitability of large-scale investments.
So by throwing around these massive commercial real estate terms, she's basically signaling to her high-net-worth clients that she isn't just a local tour guide showing houses.
She's signaling, I am an institutional-grade investment strategist. By positioning herself as an absolute authority on everything from complex commercial syndication to the macroeconomic impacts of a Formula One headquarters, she creates this aura of undeniable expertise.
That makes total sense.
When an affluent, highly educated buyer from California or Illinois reads her materials, they don't see a local sales agent. They see a peer. They see an economic advisor who deeply understands wealth preservation.
An advisor who just happens to hold the keys to a secret club.
And that is the final piece of the strategy. By offering these exclusive, confidential opportunities for discerning relocators, she engineers a profound sense of VIP access.
The FOMO is real.
Yes, the phrasing off-market triggers intense FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
The affluent buyer is led to feel that if they don't work with her proprietary network, they're going to be stuck battling the public market frenzy, they'll overpay, or worse, they'll miss out on the arbitrage entirely.
It is incredibly persuasive when you look at it from a bird's eye view.
Absolutely.
I mean, she builds the macroeconomic case for why Indiana is booming, citing the corporate headquarters, the commercial developments, the population inflows.
Right.
She validates that trend with hard data, and then she offers you a private velvet rope entrance into that exact boom before everyone else catches on.
It basically creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. She identifies the trend, amplifies the trend, and positions herself as the only logical gatekeeper to benefit from it.
So what does this all mean? When you step back and look at this document in its entirety, for you, the listener, this source is a literal masterclass in modern real estate marketing.
It really is.
It perfectly blends macroeconomic data like state income taxes and post-pandemic migration patterns with hyperlocal lifestyle appeals like the 26 sports fields at Grand Park to soothe the anxiety of parents.
Exactly.
It takes the very real pain of high taxes and turns it into the emotional thrill of a freedom multiplier. It provides a step-by-step blueprint for how to convince highly affluent, deeply rooted families to completely uproot their lives and chase a better financial horizon.
And yet, looking at all of this raises an important question. There is a fascinating paradox hidden just beneath the surface of this source material. Something for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Think about the underlying mechanics of what is happening here in places like Fishers, Carmel, and Zionsville.
Okay.
If highly sophisticated marketers like Cara Conde are successful and the migration data heavily suggests they're convincing thousands of high net worth families from massively expensive markets like California and Chicago to execute this exact suburban arbitrage.
Right.
They're flooding into these Indiana towns with their unlocked equity and their high purchasing power.
Yeah, they're arriving with hundreds of thousands of dollars in pure cash from the sale of those $900,000 Barrington homes.
Exactly. So won't that massive concentrated influx of outside wealth inevitably drive up local housing prices in Indiana?
Oh, wow.
Won't it naturally increase the local cost of living, raise property taxes, and ultimately destroy the very affordability that made these towns so attractive in the first place?
That's a huge point.
In executing the arbitrage, the out-of-state buyers might actually be erasing the very margins they came to capture while pricing out the original locals in the process.
Wow. They are basically bringing the premium squeeze with them.
Precisely.
The misdirection of the magic trick works so perfectly that the audience ends up building the exact same cage they thought they were escaping. You are looking right at the brightly colored silk scarf of low taxes and elite sports fields, while the reality of gentrification and rising costs happens quietly right in the other hand.
The illusion always has a cost eventually.
That is going to stick with me for a long time. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating, complex, and highly orchestrated world of suburban arbitrage. Until next time.